I'm Theo.
And I'm Juliet.
And this is Apologies Accepted.
We offer an entertaining look at some of the big issues in history by examining public apologies of the famous and infamous.
We're looking at politicians, serial killers, actors, and you.
Send us a public apology you would like to make, and we'll read it on the air and give you a chance to redeem yourself or just get some guilt off your shoulders.
We're here for you. Once a week, maybe more if you're really, really sorry.
Everybody, this is Apologies Accepted, the podcast. And I'm not Theo.
And I am not Juliet.
And today we're enjoying sunny weather in San Francisco. I don't know what it's like in Austin. What's it like in Austin, Theo?
It is gray and cloudy, but it's not cold anymore, so
that's
that
good.
Is all right. Now it's the temperate time of year where it feels normal.
You think it's spring?
It's getting there. Spring is coming. Spring has not sprung. Right?
Okay.
But I'm just holding my breath and preparing for the searing, scorching heat of summer.
Summer. Yeah, gross, huh? We've got some trees blooming here, so I guess it's sort of early spring. But I don't have searing heats to look forward to or dread. But I think I might be going to Arizona in a week or two. So
it'll be nice there.
We'll see how that turns out. Huh?
It'll be nice there. It won't be searing heat.
Yeah, it'll be nice. It won't be hot. But if I stay for a very long time, it'll be hot. But I won't. So no way.
Yeah.
Arizona's like Texas. I don't want to spend too much time there.
Oh, boom. Samey.
So what's shaking bacon?
What's shaking bacon is really, honestly, such a bunch of nothing. All I do is work. But I real quick want to point out one thing that's been on my bacon bits list for the last 6 weeks.
Oh my God.
We have the best editor, audio engineer.
Yeah.
I swear, I listen to other podcasts now. And now that I've sort of seen behind the scenes of a podcast, right? Mm-hmm. And I recognize how jarring it can be to say something wrong that needs to be cut out. And just how smooth the transitions are on ours, because I'm always saying wrong shit. I've been listening to other podcasts, and now I can hear in the podcast where they've made an edit, right? And it's something that my ear wasn't trained for before, but thanks to listening to our show, and oh, great, they cut out that thing where I said the moon was made out of tuna fish. Yeah, great. So a giant thank you. A very long overdue thank you to Brent for just keeping this frickety cart rolling down the road. And then
he's a good guy.
He is.
Speaking of other podcasts, did you know, and this is totally an aside, but did you know that My Favorite Murder, whatever their Exactly Right network, was sold to Amazon for $100 million?
Shut up. No, I knew it was sold to Amazon.
Totally true. $100 million.
Holy I mean, oh my God.
Can you imagine?
No, I can't. And here's the thing.
Can't either.
Money is really nice, right? So if somebody came to me and was like, oh, Theo, we want to buy Apologies Accepted for $100 million. I mean, yeah, I'm going to sell, right?
Yeah.
But on another level, if we were making $15 million a year, right? And somebody was like, oh, I want to sell. And I'm like, do I really need corporate overlords? I mean, what's half of 15? 12? Isn't $12 million a year enough for me? Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's a good point. I don't know how much they were making before that, but probably
not
a
nothing.
lot.
Yeah,
not nothing, that's for sure. So I don't know. I think my suspicion is that Amazon will cut out half of the shows that are on the Exactly Right network and, do a bunch of things that nobody's happy with as well. So,
totally right. And they're going to fire Karen and Georgia and replace them with, Angelina Jolie and name somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
But Karen and Georgia will have $100 million. They're
going to be swimming in their swimming pool filled with cash. Yeah. They're not going to care. No, I know.
They're not going to care at all. But anyway, that's just a side note. I didn't mean to distract you from what you were saying.
Oh, well, that's okay. 'Cause this is the world that you live in typically, where you're talking. I'm like, oh, let me tell you about this time. I'm all good with sidebars and segues. And then my other thing is James was gone for a week. So really, literally all I did was work, and then finish working and go and eat dinner. And I discovered or I rediscovered the type of single person that I am. So I am the single person who has sad boy dinners over the sink.
Oh my gosh.
With a spoon. And like sometimes I have to open the can, right? But heating the soup, way too much work. And why am I eating soup? Well, I'm out of milk, so I can't have cereal, which is even lazier than soup, right? I've got raw chicken. Well, raw chicken. I've got food in the fridge.
Yeah.
I just have to cook it. And it doesn't feel worth the effort, right?
I'm the same.
And even ordering something was like,
I
have to pick up the phone.
Have to answer the door.
Open this. Well, I'll have toast. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just that thing of like, it's not that I don't think I'm worth lots of wonderful prizes and great, I don't know, presents. I just don't put the energy into it for myself sometimes. And dinner seems to be that thing. And I also don't make the bed.
Oh, yeah, I don't make the bed. I haven't made the bed in years.
Yeah, I was shocked. Because I actually do make the bed when James is home. And I realized,
funny.
Oh, you're faking him out to think that you're all a good house husband. So, yeah, that was my week. What about you? What's shaking bacon?
It was my birthday, so I went to this place in Marin, just over the bridge in Fort Baker, called Cavallo Point, which is a hotel, a lovely hotel, luxury, whatever, with a view of the Bay Bridge, and it was really pretty. From our room, we had a view of the Bay Bridge, which was just gorgeous. So I just hung out in the hotel room staring at the Bay Bridge for most of the time. But we did go up to Bodega Bay, which is on the coast, and have some seafood and enjoy the fog. It was foggy that day. Sunny but foggy, which is weird. But it was really nice. It was pretty. It was a nice drive. Just enjoyed Brent's company and some seafood, and that's about it. So that's his birthday is next week, and he doesn't really want to go anywhere. So we're just going to enjoy that at home. But I have bought him a couple of presents. So
that's weird. We all have March birthdays.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But he and I are Pisces, and you're an Aries, so
I know
you're the outsider.
It's all right. Well, you guys are, you're
we're us. Definitely personality differences.
What is Pisces? Is that an air sign?
It's a water sign.
Okay. Oh, no, that's
I don't
not
know what
fish.
that means.
Me either. Like I would know.
Aries is air, or is Aries fire?
Aries is fire. I know everything about Aries. It's the best sign of the zodiac. Done. That's.
I bet.
That's
all you need to know.
That's all I needed to know.
Tamara's Aries too, I think.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because her birthday was just a couple days before yours. But anyway, let's talk about the podcast.
Oh, well, all right. What do you want to talk about with the podcast?
So today we're going to talk about a dude named Tang Min Fang, who was jailed in 2020 in China. He was jailed because he reported a Foxconn factory's forced student labor internship to China Labor Watch. The Foxconn factory in the southern Chinese city of Hengyang used school children working illegally long hours to manufacture Amazon's popular Echo, Echo Dot, and Kindle devices. Now, I don't know. Now, these school children were like 16 to 18 years old, so it wasn't like they had 5-year-olds working in the factories, that I know of anyway. But I don't know why. I guess it's legal in the U.S. to have kids 16 and over work, but they have certain hourly restrictions or something. They can only do it certain times of the day and for certain hours. Yeah,
and in certain industries. However, the one exception to that in the United States is agriculture. So in agriculture, a child 12 years old and up may work legally in the fields or on the farm. Doesn't have to be in the field, right? And that is full-time labor. So it is perfectly legal for a 12-year-old child, an American citizen in the United States, to be employed. So I'm not talking about working on the family farm, right, where you have chores and you're working for free for your parents.
So it could be factory farming in Purdue or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yep. Strawberry fields forever. It is 12 years old, and you can work 50 to 60 hours a week.
Shit.
And it's legal.
So do they have to go to school at the same time?
No, not that I don't know about how the schooling thing. I don't know nothing about no schooling.
I guess if it's agriculture, maybe they don't have to go to school. At least I think that used to be the case.
I don't know. I just know that that is the law in the United States, and currently there is no measure or act in Congress to revisit agricultural age limits for laborers.
I wonder how many children that young are working in agriculture. I don't know.
No way. We'd have to drive out to different fields and count.
Personally.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way to know
Nobody's
that.
Got time for that. We've already got jobs. So it's 16 to 18 years old working at the Foxconn factory in Hengyang. And the China Labor Watch published some reports using information provided by Tang Minfang. After reviewing the reports, Amazon conducted their own investigation because obviously the Amazon's Echo and Kindle devices were being made at the factory, and Amazon confirmed the use of children in the factory. The students were illegally hired by Foxconn and forced to work overtime. Tang said workers regularly exceeded the limit of 36 hours of overtime a month, with some on the assembly lines over 100 hours a month during busy periods. 100 hours a month. If the students refused to work longer, the factory would contact their teachers to persuade them. If the students still refused overtime, they had to ask their teachers to help them resign, which I'm sure didn't go well. The internships the students did at the Foxconn factory were not relevant to their studies, and the students told China Labor Watch that they were threatened that they would not be able to graduate if they didn't complete their internships. Correct. So obviously this is forced labor.
It's forced labor under the guise of, you're going to learn how to work. You're going to learn a skill.
You're going to learn business, right?
Right, exactly. And it's a paid internship, which is the dream.
Slapping labels on boxes or something. So after Amazon investigated, they did require Foxconn to improve the working and living conditions, to increase workers' wages, and to dismiss the supervisor of the factory as well as the human resources manager. However, Foxconn then characterized these abuses as trade secrets and had Tang detained under criminal law and sentenced to 2 years in prison in July 2020. So they said these things that you told China Labor Watch are trade secrets, and we're going to jail you for disclosing trade secrets.
We're breaking the law, which is a trade secret. That's how we're earning profits. Therefore, you're in trouble.
And they got away with it. And according to China Labor Watch, student forced laborers are common in China. And the situation has been reported and exposed by media and scholars, but no factory that uses forced labor has ever been punished. Additionally, in 1 year alone, 2010, 14 workers at Foxconn's Shenzhen industrial complex committed suicide by jumping off the factory roof. And Foxconn responded by introducing a ban on suicide and removed protections from the families of workers who committed suicide.
Stop. Nope. They put a ban on suicide.
True.
There have been too many suicides this month, everybody. Stop
it. No more. And then we're going to take away protections from your family if you do commit suicide. So it's horrible. I don't know what to say about it except that it's horrible. And Foxconn is China's single largest private employer. Foxconn's owner, Terry Gao, is the wealthiest man in Taiwan with a net worth of about $7 billion. And, of course, Amazon's Jeff Bezos is worth an estimated $170 billion, a fortune that I think The Guardian said he acquired against a backdrop of global reports of misery for Amazon's warehouse workers, exhausted by the demands made on them in return for the most basic of wages. Union and workers' rights group have protested about low pay and harsh working conditions.
I mean,
I
know.
Not only are you working in a factory and you get abused, but if you report on the abuse, you're jailed. So, I mean, it's sort of like Russia or something in the old days, or maybe now, I don't know.
It's, just hearing that, it's so obvious that it's all one giant pyramid scheme. Somebody at the top is worth $170 billion.
Right.
Right. How much is he making a minute? I have no idea. Right.
I don't know. That's a lot.
Ridiculous amount of money a minute.
Yeah.
And then you have these kids who are working for him, admittedly, indirectly, but it doesn't matter. They're still in the supply chain.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. And these kids are earning $1 a day.
Right. Something like that. Not very much.
Yeah, well,
it's ridiculous. It's unnecessary, is what it is. There's absolutely he could afford to pay these people a better wage.
Oh, it's ridiculous. So, a couple of comparative figures here. Company documents show that Foxconn pays interns a total of 16 won an hour, which comes out to $2.61 an hour. That's inclusive of overtime and other add-ons like,
wow,
free water, right?
Wow.
With a basic salary of $1.56 an hour.
Jeez.
Right? The average adult factory worker makes $3.95 an hour. Experienced agency workers, who known as dispatch workers, cost the company $3.19 an hour.
And those are like contractors.
Yep. And so, while wages are not super high, the interns are receiving a little more than half of what an adult worker would be earning.
Right. That's not a lot of money for 100 hours of overtime a month.
It's
potentially
not a lot of money. And also you have the threat of, and the whole rest of your life is never going to happen because you're not going to graduate from our program.
Right, if you don't do this.
But you know how to work in this factory, and so welcome to the rest of your life.
So you can spend the rest of your life at this factory very easily.
We helped you. Yeah. We're heroes.
That would be awful. So Tang was not only imprisoned for making these reports, but he wrote a letter to Jeff Bezos and said that he was tortured during the interrogation process at the hands of police and was forced to make false confessions. He described that he was beaten by his interrogators, handcuffed in stress positions until he signed a confession to the crime of infringing trade secrets. He said, "I refused to sign 7 times, and they got angry and handcuffed me to the bottom of the iron frame, unable to stand, squat, or sit, only bending, half squatting all night. In the early morning, I could not stand anymore." In his letter to Bezos, Tang urged him to ensure that workers' rights were protected. "I think the price I paid will all be worth it if only this situation can be brought to your attention and benefit the employees of all Amazon suppliers," he wrote. "Finally, as your faithful admirer, as a former employee of your company's client, as a victim, as a son, husband, and father, I would like to ask the following of you. Please ask Hengyang Foxconn to face up to its own problems, apologize to me, and come forward and communicate with the local court to assist me in the appeal of my case so that the court can finally revoke my guilty verdict." It's kind of a sad letter.
It's a very sad letter, and I would hope that given the media attention that this has received, this is from an article that was published in The Guardian, which is, again, a very well-respected paper, widely read, that this would have crossed Mr. Bezos' secretary's desk. Like, somebody close to him has got to be aware of this letter.
I'm sure someone is.
Right? If not Bezos himself.
A spokesperson said in reply to the articles, at least, "We do not tolerate violations of our supply chain standards. We regularly assess suppliers using independent auditors as appropriate to monitor continued compliance and improvement. Always. If we find violations, we take appropriate steps, including requesting immediate corrective action."
Definitely.
Oh, absolutely right. Tang said he believed Amazon acted correctly in addressing the illegal working practices, but that it should have intervened on his behalf in line with U.S. law, offering protection to whistleblowers and guaranteeing their freedom of speech. "I was clear about how the student workers were physically punished and assaulted by their teachers. I believe these things are wrong and illegal," he said. Tang said Foxconn had promised to improve working conditions after the first investigation, but its own internal documents suggested managers were planning to expand the illegal use of workers. "Not just me, many other colleagues believe this is wrong," he said. "Can you ask Hengyang Foxconn to face up to its own problems and compensate and apologize to me?" China Labor Watch Director Li Chang also wrote to Bezos, urging him to intervene on behalf of Tang. China Labor Watch believes that Amazon has the responsibility to call for China to free this innocent volunteer who provided the evidence of labor violations in an Amazon supplier factory and thank him for helping improve worker conditions. All he did was report violation of workers' rights in an Amazon supplier factory. He did not commit any illegal acts. It is unacceptable and unfair that Tang Minfang is serving jail time for trying to help Amazon improve the labor conditions in its supplier factory. He said Bezos had not responded to his letter and Amazon had not offered any support for Tang. So Tang was released early last year, at some point last year, but I don't know if I think he served 2 years.
He served 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, which I think was his sentence. I'm not entirely sure.
2 years for telling the truth.
I know. I mean,
I get that it's China. I get that it's a different system. But come on, guys.
Yeah. Well, conditions at Amazon factories in general have been the subject of complaints for a while. According to Fortune, workers at Amazon warehouses across the U.S. have long complained about grueling working conditions. They say they have too few bathroom breaks, which are all timed, excessive productivity goals, and an unsafe working environment. Between 2017 and 2020, the company reported serious injuries requiring workers to take time off or to be moved on to lighter tasks at nearly double the rate of other warehouses in the industry. So it's not so great here either, unfortunately.
No, but you don't get $170 billion by being the nicest employer in the world.
I guess not. I mean, what if he only made like $80 billion? Could he have given people better salaries?
God forbid, what if he only made $500 million, Juliet? What are you trying to do? Strip this man of all of his money?
He couldn't have that $7 billion yacht or whatever it is that he's got. Is that him that has that
the
big
one
yacht?
They had to like raise some fucking bridge? Well, he couldn't go to space, right? And, thank God he went into space, because how much better are things? Jeff Bezos has had his jollies. What?
I thought Elon Musk was the one that went into space. Was that who you said?
Musk did, but didn't Bezos do it as well?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I can't keep track.
Weren't all the billionaires trying to get off the planet?
I think so. I think there's like a handful of people who are so rich that they can do whatever they want, and they all tried to go to space at some point.
And stay there.
Yeah. That would be nice if they did stay there, but they probably could manage their affairs from space just as easily as anywhere else. So it wouldn't be any better for us.
That's true.
I'm glad I don't work in an Amazon factory. I think about that from time to time.
I'm only laughing because, once upon a time, it did cross my radar that, like, I could get a job at Amazon. I mean,
yeah.
But, no, thank you. The hours sound bad. The work practices sound bad. Everything just sounds, there's nothing about it that sounds like great. I actually do know somebody who worked at Amazon, trying to, not like, high up, but not super high up, right?
Yeah.
And this person said, going to avoid all gender and all names, that it was a cult, that you would get phone calls at 3:00 in the morning and you were expected to answer your phone and know what was going on. And the surest way to get fired was to not answer your phone at 3:00 in the morning and not know what was happening, right?
That's horrible.
You were on deck 24/7. And it wasn't even just the expectation. That was the reality. Like, what is it when there is no such thing as an expectation? The sun will come up tomorrow. That's not an expectation. That is a universal.
That's a fact.
Yeah, it's a fact, right?
Yeah.
So there we go.
Well, I hope they were well paid for this, because they could have gone to work anywhere else and not had that same kind of stress.
I know, right? And that's the thing I don't get. It's, well, okay, but here we are. We're talking about people who have choices in employment.
Yeah.
Right. Which is, I don't understand why they took that job. Well, they took that job. It looks good on a resume. All right. I'm going to eat shit for a year and I'm going to have to work like super hard. But then I will have been VP of supply chain management for Amazon. And then I can get a nice cushy job at, Target, Williams Sonoma or whatever. Right. So I can see it in I'm climbing the ladder kind of way. But when you don't have a ladder and you're just trying to like stay alive.
Oh, yeah.
Then,
well, that's totally different. But I would assume that someone who was a vice president of something would have more options.
Yeah, totally right.
So, but I guess, people do things for their own reasons. So what can I say?
To that, nothing. That is 1,000% true.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
So that's all I have about this unfortunate event. Have you got any details for us?
I do, because as I mentioned in pre-show, some of this story just felt very obvious, right? I mean, why would a corporation allow children to be employed? Well, because they're cheap and you make more money, right? Why would a corporation do things in China? Well, because it's cheap, right? And it all comes down to profit and money and blah. But that's also the reason why children enter the workforce. It's about poverty. It's about earning money. And so this morning, in a mad crunch to do my homework and keep up to speed with you, right? Like, she's gonna have all the facts. I gotta have something. I can't lie too much. So I watched this, I'll say really, it was well done, documentary called Invisible Hands. And it's about child labor, child slavery, right? Which sounds like it would be really depressing and sad.
Major downer.
And they managed to walk a very fine line between presenting the facts, but not bumming you out too much.
Wow.
Right? The children were smiling when they were working. No, I'm sorry. That's awful. God. See, I'm just
they were
uncomfortable.
smiling while eating their porridge.
I have to discharge the tension through saying inappropriate things. So get ready to laugh your head off, because here we go. In the world, there are anywhere from 160 million to 200 million children who are employed, right?
Damn.
And those ages range from 5 to about 14 years old.
Holy shit.
I'll tell you about the documentary that I watched, right?
Yeah.
So it starts off with this guy in India whose name is Kailash Satyarthi. So Kailash Satyarthi. And he's the founder of Bhakpen Bhakko Andolan. He won the Nobel Peace Prize. And what he does is he finds these little factories that are employing children, and sometimes the children are we'll say enslaved. They're trafficked. They've been purchased, right? And so they don't live at home. They live in the factory.
Yeah.
And they're going to live there for 2 years working. And then at the end of the 2 years, the child gets paid and can go back home to their parents. There's all different mixes of that. So that's not the only type of way that this plays out. So Kailash will partner with local police, or he'll go in with his own group of guys, right? And they raid the factory. And when I say factory, I mean, this isn't somebody's garage, right?
Yeah,
or it's somebody's living room, right? And they'll rescue like 20 kids at a time. So Kailash has been beaten by locals who don't want him there because he's disrupting the economy. And he has had team members murdered. So yeah. And then a quote from Siddharth Kara, who's the director of human trafficking and modern slavery. And I really think they should rework his title, and maybe he should be the director. Anti-human trafficking. No, I know, right? It's like, oh, how much do you make doing that?
What do you do? I'm a director of human trafficking.
And modern slavery.
Yikes.
But he is employed by Harvard. And he said, if you set aside all the laws and definitions and the economics and the reasons why this happens, right? What we're left with is, it means that the innocence and purity of childhood is transformed into grinding menial labor, which is then transformed into the delightful things we consume every day. It's their suffering turned into our clothes and our food and our jewelry and our chocolate. All right. So in a world of global capitalism where shipping is really cheap, it's very easy to find cheap labor. So industries look for, how can we make the most money? Well, let's reduce our labor costs. Great. Let's go to countries where labor is cheap. Yeah. And because of the distances, it's very easy to claim ignorance, right? You've worked in supply chain management, right? I never have.
No.
Oh, you haven't?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, what? You don't think so?
Not that I remember.
Why did I think that you had done something in supply chain management? But
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know either. I was sure. I was like, oh, Juliet will have this covered from bottom to up. I'm not going to worry about it. All right, cool. So, I'll make it personal. We have a friend who has a small mom and pop coffee company, right? That sounds pretty glamorous, but very small. And she works with farms located throughout Latin America, female-owned farms, and we'll get into the whole thing is just about female empowerment because anybody can have coffee, so how do I make my coffee different? And empower women. Cool.
Right.
So she actually goes down to the farms herself and meets the owner, has tours, does follow-ups with them to ensure that it's truly a woman who's owning and benefiting from the sale of the beans, right?
Right.
And into the ethical practices. But this is a small company, and it, again, as I said, it's mom and pop. So she's able to actually meet and develop relationships with the people. But let's add another 20 people under her. And suddenly she's making a phone call to someone saying, oh, that farm in Latin America, do they really is that female owned? Oh, yeah, absolutely. I went down. You know what I mean? It's like things start to break down the more people you add to the chain.
Right.
Okay. So the documentary then went into, after looking at breaks in supply chains and accountability, went into some of the countries and some of the stories around specific kids. So Indonesia, where we are 149 on the comedy charts, and I learned today that Indonesia is a chain of islands. I somehow thought it was above Pakistan.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just born here. I asked to study the Earth, borders. Okay, so Indonesia is the world's largest supplier of palm oil. And palm oil is a shelf stabilizer. So it prolongs the product of a life, right? Everything from chocolate bar to shampoo to you name it. Palm oil is everywhere.
Palm oil.
Palm olive uses palm oil. And children are largely employed in the palm oil industry to burn forest and spray pesticides. And
oh, no.
You can bet that those pesticides that they are spraying are not EPA approved pesticides, right? And guess what? The kids don't have gloves or respirators or face masks or know that they should even cover their mouth and nose up with a mask when they're spraying these chemicals, which are cancer causing, which can cause Parkinson's disease later in life, right? No idea. And the employers purposely don't supply the kids with safety gear. Why? Because if they did, then they would have to admit that they're employing the children because they gave them equipment to use, right?
Oh, no.
So what happens is the parents who, we're talking crushing poverty here. So the film crew went to the plantations and interviewed workers. And there was a mother who was there who she's working in the field, right? Yeah. And she brings her child with her because if she doesn't clear and she doesn't produce her quota, which is ridiculously high and impossible for one person to ever achieve, right? She has to have help. She brings her little son to help her, and he works from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m., 5 days a week easily, right? And the mother was happy that she had a son who could help her. Wow. Because otherwise she wouldn't have this job.
Right.
So got it. They interviewed a little boy who was 12 years old in the palm fields, and he said, if my parents need my help, I can only accept this situation. The largest company that produces refined palm oil, right, is a company called Wilmar, Wilmar. It's in Indonesia, and they provide the palm oil to Colgate, Procter & Gamble, Kellogg's, Nestle, and Unilever. Name a product, and it has palm oil in it from these farms where children are
that's depressing.
Are hired. Yeah, there is literally no way around consuming a product that does not involve a child's labor on some level, right? So, which I know gets really depressing, but we're going to find a way not to be depressed about it. Okay, so out of all of these companies that I've just named, Nestle was the one company to acknowledge the problem. There's child labor, and the producers of the documentary met with the guy whose name I don't have and title I don't have, but basically his job was global supply chain manager, blah, 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 blah. And he said to the production team, yeah, we make certain that our suppliers are not using children. And if you have an example, then I would like to know the name. And the producer said, every farm we visited employed children, and some of them were trafficked. Wow. And you could just see this guy like, oh, God, my meeting just started. I really have to go. He didn't say that. That didn't happen. But you could see him like, can I get out of this room? So let's see. In 24.
So everybody knows about it and nobody does anything.
Well,
even though they very well could.
So good point. Hold on to that. Stick a pin in it, because that's how we're going to, well, actually, it's not how I'm going to wrap it up. It's how the documentary wrapped it up. So that's why we're able to like look at this really sad subject and then walk away with, oh, okay, all right. I'm glad I watched it. Okay. I know some facts. Let's see. There's a company called Transparentum. I don't know why it has that name. And they go about and look at supply chains down to the level of going into people's garages who are crushing berries, let's say, right? Or whatever crazy thing happens, looking for children. And they report that up to corporations, right?
Okay.
So there is a way to know who is producing your goods, but willful ignorance. Indonesia is the world's 5th largest tobacco producer, having 500,000 farms. There are 250 million people who live in Indonesia, and there are 3,000 labor inspectors for the entire country. And the labor inspectors are supposed to go out to the fields and the factories and the shops and the and enforce labor laws, right? And obviously, that's not enough people to do that job, which is how the Indonesian government can allow these children to work, because enforcement just doesn't happen. Enforcement is half-hearted, right? Because there's a buck to be earned. In the USA, children 12 and up can work on any farm. Small farms and family farms, there's no age limit. Wow. So if you're 5 years old and your dad owns the farm and your dad wants you to go out and collect chicken eggs, you're going to go do that. And sure, that's a chore, and it's different when it's your family, but that's also what's happening in these palm fields. My mom's going off to work and we're a family, and so I'm going to go work in the family's palm fields now, but the family doesn't own the palm field. The family considers itself lucky to have a job. So in the USA, again, children work picking.
Picking, sure.
Yeah, collecting is fun. That's what you do with like Nightmare Before Christmas figurines, right?
Right.
That's a reference. It's personal to me. Blueberries, strawberries, and sweet potatoes. Kind of concerning to think that now when I go to the grocery store and I pick up a packet of strawberries that are on sale, that like, wow, a 13-year-old could have been picked these, and it'd be perfectly legal, right?
Yeah.
So children have basically always worked, right? And typically industry was in the home, and an agricultural society, everybody worked, right? Child labor really became a thing with the Industrial Revolution, when steam-powered machinery meant you didn't need brute force to get things done. Suddenly you could use a little kid to manage some machine, to run in between the chopping things and grab that one thing that fell on the floor, right? And this was basically the case through the 19th century and into the early 20th century. In 1938, the U.S. Congress passed the Fair Labor Act. It was part of FDR's New Deal, and this was to keep children in school, out of industries, but the one exclusion to this act was agriculture. And as I mentioned earlier, there's no effort in Congress to tackle this agricultural age concern. I don't want a strawberry that's been picked by a 13-year-old. Okay, so let's see here. In Ghana, we're just going to kind of skip around. There are 2 million children between the ages of 5 and 14 who work in gold mines or on cocoa plantations.
Oh, no.
Ghana and another country called, and you probably know it, I'm going to mess it up, Delivra? It's another country in Africa. I've never heard of it. It was, I don't know, it sounded really pretty.
Okay.
So Ghana and this other country, this name I didn't write down because I was like, I'll never be able to pronounce it. Oliver something. Produce 60% of chocolate in the world, right? The Cocoa Board of Ghana regulates itself, and they provide oversight in conjunction with government approval. So given all of the issues with child labor in the chocolate industry specifically, right, 60% of the world's chocolate comes from two countries. 2 million kids are working in those countries. So it's an open secret, basically, in the chocolate industry. And, you know, I guess children's tears make chocolate taste sweeter. Oh, that's not funny.
Terrible.
I know.
I didn't know that with chocolate. I didn't know that with these industries in general. It's sad. I'm depressed.
Well, but now, like I said, hold on, because we're going to end up in a not sad place, but it's not happy.
Right.
Okay, so, oh my gosh, chocolate? No way. What? You mean hot chocolate? You mean candy bars? You mean Snickers? You mean, yeah, everywhere, everything, all chocolate, Cadbury, looking right at you, right? Switzerland, hi. America, hi. Canada, all chocolate. So 2 U.S. senators in 2001 put forward the Harkin-Engel protocol, where they basically said, hey, chocolate people, clean up your act. We're kids employed, and you need to figure this out. And that was in 2001. And they said, you know, could you maybe get kids to stop working over the next 4 years? If we gave you to July 1st of 2005, do you think you could get the kids out of the chocolate, chopping those pods and all? Could you just stop that? And the chocolate industry said, yeah, absolutely. And they said that again in 2008 when they missed the 2005 deadline. And then they said it again in 2013.
Oh, my God.
Child labor had risen 21% by 2013 over the year 2001 when the Harkin-Engel protocol was put into, I can't say act, because, like, there were no consequences for not meeting the deadline. Right? As these guys are busy shoving chocolate bars into their faces, like, did you meet that deadline? No, but isn't the candy so good? Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm not cheered up yet.
I know. And wait, because here we go. China, where we were talking about our dear friend who was wrongfully imprisoned. China. And from 1990 to 2010, China went from the 7th largest manufacturer country, right, in the world to number 1. So that's 20 years it took them to go from 7 to 1. They're the number 1 manufacturer in the world. They got there through sweatshops and child labor. In a way, it kind of makes sense, because if you look at poverty as the crucial factor in the creation of child labor, then China was taking, well, they weren't taking. You had people that were like, there's a way to earn money, and all I have to do is send little Becky Sue into that factory. Great, get your shoes on, young lady. So that's how they got there, according to this documentary, allegedly. Don't sue me, China. So it was through rural labor, and mostly girls. But something also shifted in the 90s. And that was when China introduced universal primary education. So school became compulsory. And basically, compulsory school attendance decreases child labor, right? How and why, and the mechanics. I mean, I get why. If the children have to be in one place and not the other place, then it makes sense. And then the factories have no choice but to hire adults. And one of the guys in the documentary made a point of, there's 200 million working kids, but there's 168 million unemployed adults. And so all we have to do is shift to that, right? And a lot of those adults who are unemployed are the parents of the working children, right? And it's not because the parents don't want to work. It's because the parents aren't going to get hired. The kid's going to get hired, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's cool. Thank you, China. Compulsory education. That's going to decrease our child labor issue. And it did, but then there's a loophole. And the loophole is what was happening at Foxconn. And that loophole is that high school students between the ages of 15 to 17 can spend their summer vacations working as interns in factories. They are supposed to be learning management skills and fill in the blank with other kinds of nice sounding things, but that's not the case at all. They show up in their manual labor and they are just working. They're working incredible numbers of 16, 18 hours a day, right? Very few breaks and just not a lot of fun. And you can't quit because you don't graduate, right? So yippee. And so the documentary interviewed a couple of 15-year-olds, and they were like, "Hey, how do you like working in this factory in China?" And the kids all basically had the same statement, which is, "This is something I have to do. It's part of my education, and I don't like it, but I need to graduate." Right? Okay, so in India, we have 30 million children under the age of 14 who are working. They are largely employed in agriculture, embroidery, jewelry making. They also are working 16 to 18 hours a day. Yep. And these products are sold in IKEA, Target, Home Depot, Amazon, name a store. It's there, right?
Okay, I'm still not feeling better.
I know. Well, and I'm sorry for this one because now you're going to feel a little bit worse.
Oh, no.
Yes. So mica, which is a mineral that's, I guess, kind of glittery and put into makeup and car paint. Children are used to mine mica.
Oh, no.
And so basically all makeup and all car paint employ child labor to get that really beautiful glinty, sheen. And BMW is the only company in the entire world to say, we are not going to take mica that's mined in India. Sorry, I should have pointed out all this is happening in India. We will get our mica from other places where we know that they can prove children aren't working.
Wow.
Right? Yes. So
only one car company.
Only one company. Revlon didn't say that.
Not even makeup.
I don't know. Name another. I only know Revlon.
L'Oreal. I mean, they're probably all owned by the same people. But
probably. And that person is not a child.
Right.
That's right.
No.
Okay.
Children have no power.
So there's a little bit of what can we do, right?
Right.
And so what we can do is obviously corporations only exist because they supply goods that people buy, right? And so you could say like, well, I can't not buy something that has palm oil in it, right? Because it's everywhere. And so, what am I going to do? So you can look for labels that are listed. Fair trade is one.
Right.
There's another one that's called Good Weave, which is particularly for the rug industry, right? Where children are massively employed. These two companies or two organizations really ensure that child labor is not a part of the supply chain. And let's see here. So kind of the last little bits, just interesting points. The largest 175 economic entities in the world, of those 175, 50% are corporations and the other 50% are countries.
Huh.
Wow. That was 5 years ago. Today, 65% are corporations.
Huh.
Right? And so it's up to the corporations to manage this problem. Corporations bow down to the will of the people-ish, right? And so one guy in the documentary pointed out that he actually was glad that corporations had such a large share of this issue, because a corporation can do something in 48 hours that a government might take 10 years to accomplish. So he really felt that the hopeful thing here is that these are supply chain issues, and that as people are aware of them, people can do something about it by putting their money where their mouth is, basically. And that companies will respond to that. And one company that was held up as a shining example, guess.
Oh my God, I have no idea.
Yes, it's a big one.
Apple.
Yes, you guessed right.
Really?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Oh my
first
God.
guess. Brava, brava.
I'm surprised.
I know, I was too. I had to stop it and rewind because I spaced a little bit, and then I was like, oh, what horrible thing did Apple do? Because that's I only
That's what you're
expected
used to
that.
hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, so get ready for this. Apple, our hero. So Apple audits their supply chain and they punish suppliers that they catch using children. Oh,
Good.
They punish a supplier. What do? Not give them $100 million, but only $99 million?
Yeah.
No. First of all, the supplier has to release the child and send the child back home at the supplier's expense. Doesn't matter how much you paid for the kid.
Okay.
And then the supplier has to ensure that the child is in school. And a lot of these kids don't go to school because, one, their families need the money. And two, it costs money to go to school. You have to buy pencils. You have to buy paper. You have to buy a book. Maybe not. But you do have to buy some things. And spending the money on a pencil or spending the money on food, it's not going to be a pencil, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then they have to wait for it, continue to pay the child's wages until the child is of working age, right?
Wow.
So fuck around and find out with Apple. I was mightily, heartily, beautifully surprised by that. And also Apple, I don't want to say that what am I going to say? I'll use the word allegedly.
Okay.
Apple allegedly has a policy of full transparency and full disclosure. And the reason I say allegedly is because somewhere there's going to be one thing that happened. But where they publish all of their suppliers that they work with, and they report any issues regarding child labor with a supplier. It's all public knowledge. And that's actually, considering that kids are used to dig cobalt, which is a primary ingredient, lithium. You need cobalt to make a lithium battery. And so Apple is not using lithium from countries that they know violate the child labor laws.
Wow.
Right? But Amazon, Alexa, Android, all of those don't. They're very happy to take those lithium batteries that come from the cobalt that has been mined with the little hands, because the tiny grains of cobalt dust are the most precious. Yeah. And then in the documentary, they did this thing where they went to Africa. I don't remember which country it was. It may have been Nigeria. And they posed as cocoa bean farmers looking for children to buy. And they bought some children. Guess how much a child laborer costs to purchase? This isn't even just like rent, right?
God, I don't know. $50.
Oh, more than that. Sorry.
Oh,
sorry to disappoint you.
$1,000?
No, less than that. I'm going to make your day. More than that.
500.
Less than that.
250.
So close. $230.
Oh my God.
To buy a kid. And these
That's
kids
insane.
are being trafficked from other countries. So in Ghana, they're coming from, name it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and within that, after they bought the kids, the police came and arrested the traffickers, and then the kids were sent back home. And the look of confusion on these poor kids' faces, where it was just like, what happened?
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be working and earning some money.
Right.
Some kids are forced into it by their parents and are told, go and don't come back until you bring money.
Yeah.
Right. And others, it's a family unit going and working together.
Right.
Yeah, it's it's not easy. But that was a dumb thing to say. It's not easy. Jesus. Yeah. Well, I mean, how do you wrap it up nicely other than to say, or how do you wrap it up Nestle? They need to use that.
Oh my God. So yeah, I guess we need to stop hiring children and hire their unemployed parents instead. I mean, of course, they pay children less than they would pay their parents, which is why they hire the children in the first place. But so it would be more expensive theoretically to hire their parents. But
sure.
I mean, these large companies could probably afford it for the most part.
Well, I mean,
they say, well, that's going to increase the cost of goods, but it doesn't necessarily have to increase the cost of goods. I mean, if you're paying your CEO billions of dollars a year, probably some of that money could be redirected.
I'm going to guess that $1 million, a measly $1 million, right, funneled down to these, I don't know, these little farms, right, would really help increase wages and bring parents up. But, again, that's not what they want to do. They want to work. They don't want to work. They want their workers to work for as cheaply as possible. And they don't want to have to supply materials. So gloves, respirators, all that. It's not even bullshit. All the safety equipment. Sure, you can hire the adults and maybe you pay them more. Maybe you pay them the same as you're paying the kid, right? But adults are heavier. They can't climb the trees. And also, adults tend to form unions and complain about unfair working conditions.
Right.
Whereas kids don't.
I'm still depressed.
Well, let's cheer things up here. This is a comedy show, after all. Let's see. What could we say? We could say, do you remember working as a kid? Like, what was your concept of going out and working?
I didn't work.
You didn't have a part-time job?
As a kid?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I mean, like as an 8-year-old. But I mean,
I babysat, and then I didn't get a real job until I was like 18 or whatever.
How old were you when you first started babysitting?
Probably like 12.
About the same for me, yeah. I babysat too.
Yeah. Way too young.
Oh, totally. Jesus God. Way too young.
Completely incapable of handling any emergency.
Yeah. No, I'm right there. Never had one, fortunately.
No, never had one. Thank God.
Yeah. But I
would have not known what to do.
Oh, me either. I would have called the parents, and there weren't cell phones. So it's like, what restaurant are you going to?
Exactly. Call the restaurant. Your child is choking to death. I don't know what to do.
Do you know how to dial 911? You're hired.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Well, it was a simpler, gentler time. There was no such thing as serial killers or poison chemicals under the sink. It was just,
Well, we had Mr. Nasty or whatever his name was to tell us. Remember that sticker the face on it that told you not to eat or drink the chemical that was under the sink?
Oh my God, I do remember that. Yes, yes. We didn't have that at my house.
We didn't have it in my house either. Yeah. But I knew what it was.
Right,
if
same.
I did see it.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
So. Yeah, there we are.
All right, so
I think we ended
poor
on a laugh.
Mr. Tang was jailed for 2 years for trying to improve labor conditions in the factory that he worked in, and at least he's out of jail now. I mean, that's something. It was only 2 years, which, I mean, I can't really say that because 2 years in jail is a lot of time, but it could have been a lot worse. So hopefully he's doing okay now. I don't know if he has a job, but hopefully he's doing all right.
I'm going to say he deserves a lot more than an apology from Amazon.
Yeah. So my rating of the apology is obviously 0 because there was no apology.
Right. And my rating is 0 minus some stuff because, no apology. And, they can't apologize because then they have to take ownership of the issue. And then if they take ownership of the issue, they're going to lose money.
Potentially, yeah.
What are we going to do without money?
Yeah, all the money that Jeff Bezos has. So, terrible.
Yeah, it's awful, especially since money is fictitious anyway. It doesn't, mean anything. It does, but it doesn't.
Does if you have rent to pay. Yeah. So boo to Amazon and boo to Jeff Bezos and boo to Foxconn and wherever that town was. I've forgotten. So do you have an apology expected or a who's sorry now?
I have a who's sorry now.
Let's hear it.
And it relates to child labor. So in my household for a while, you just simply did chores and then that was that. And then my mom at a certain point was like, allowances, let's give you an allowance and you start learning to manage money. And
That's
so,
nice.
all right, cool. And then it got to the point where, oh, I would like to maybe have a job and earn more money. Right.
Right.
And so cool. And also it just felt like an adult thing to be doing. I'm really looking forward to like turning 16 and being able to legally work.
Right.
And
was this your job at McDonald's?
Well, that was my third job.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had a job at Kroger as a bag boy, which I had for, I think a summer, I'll say. And that was all right. I actually enjoyed it. And then I had the McDonald's job for like not a year, but more than a summer. Right.
Yeah.
But starting off, I found a job as a dishwasher in an Italian restaurant that was right up the road from our house. Right?
In Durham?
In Durham, yep.
What Italian restaurant?
Oh my God, I couldn't even tell you. But
was it the one in that strip mall?
It wasn't a strip mall. So if you walked up LaSalle and you had Duke Manor Apartments on your right hand side, and
you turn right
past the 7-Eleven. I feel like I just kept going straight, and then the restaurant was there.
On LaSalle? I thought LaSalle ended.
It ends, right? But I feel like, and then you made a right, and there was Kroger, and then there was McDonald's. All my jobs were within walking distance of our apartment. And then
I thought you worked at the McDonald's on Hillsborough Road.
Oh, maybe. I mean, does LaSalle dead end into Hillsborough Road?
No, not really. It's not walking distance.
Oh, it was totally walking distance from my house. I mean,
okay, maybe I thought you worked at a different one.
I mean, it could have been a mile away, but it was like a 20-minute trek.
Okay, maybe.
Well, all McDonald's are the same, so my experience in the one would have been the same in the other. Yeah, it doesn't matter where it was. The same.
And our podcast listeners don't care.
Right. Or they care greatly. Yes. But no, so my first job was in this Italian restaurant, and regardless of, it was walking distance of the house, right? Strip mall rings a bell. I only worked there for 2 days.
Oh, no.
Right? And I went in for the interview, and the owner was there, and he interviewed me, and, have you ever washed dishes? Of course. Yeah, hi.
Yeah, you're 16 years old.
Yeah.
Right? I've never done anything.
Yeah, single working mother. Yeah,
right.
Laundry, check. Dusting, check. Repair a car, almost check. So, so he hired me, and the first night, I didn't mind it. It was fine, right? The work itself was fine. He was very handsy. He would come in, and handsy in a way that didn't feel Italian, right?
It was just creepy.
It felt like it was going to go places. It felt like, I mean, even at 16, as sheltered as I was also pretty just clued in. So, anyway, it was a lot of like, let me give you a neck massage. Let me rub your back for you. Right.
Oh, creepy.
This is on the first fucking day of the job.
My God.
Right. And so on the second day of the job, he came up behind me and said that I needed to have my back cracked. Right.
Oh, no.
Because I had been, it's going to sound bad, I'd been bent over doing something. It wasn't anything like that. It was, I had been in the back of the restaurant picking up pieces of broken glass and throwing them into the bin. Right.
Okay.
And he was like, oh, you poor thing, here. And so he got behind me and had me like put my hands on my shoulders, and they picked me up by the elbows to kind of like pull me back up against him, and do that a couple of times. And I went home and I told my mother, I don't want to work there anymore. I don't like it. The man touches me.
Yeah.
You would think that when your 16-year-old son tells you that a man is touching him and that it makes him uncomfortable, right? that you might ask more questions.
Right.
No. You know what I got?
Oh, my God.
You're always complaining.
Oh, my God.
Maybe not quite.
Oh, my God.
Maybe not quite. You're always complaining.
Right.
But it was, I'm sure, and it's just my mother lived in this world where things like that didn't happen on the job. Things like that happened in bathrooms, right?
Okay.
Like if you go into the bathroom, don't let anybody talk to you.
Right.
Okay. Gee, Mom, I don't know if you've ever been in a bathroom, but it's not really the place for conversation with strangers. And so she was. Oh my God! She was like,
I just think if it were me and my son, 16-year-old son, came home and said this, somebody had been touching him, I would be in the car out the door on the way to the restaurant
to get spaghetti dinner.
Doing?
No.
Right.
I understand you've been touching my child. I want pizza.
Every day for the rest of my life.
So anyway, it's that guy who owes me an apology, not my mother.
He sure does.
Yes.
How creepy.
It was all that thing. But the other thing was for me going, through that experience was my mother's I don't want to say her absolute lack of concern, but the touching just didn't seem to be the issue for her. It was like, okay, well, if you're going to leave, he owes you for the 2 days you worked. And so she went, this is what was important to my mother.
The money.
Then she went up to the restaurant and brought me with her.
Oh my God.
Which was totally not uncomfortable at all.
Not at all.
Right. And said, my son worked here for 2 days and you owe him. And I don't remember if I ever got a check. I don't care. I just remember being like, I'm so uncomfortable. And I really think the big issue's being overlooked here.
Right.
Right. Not that the guy needs to be in jail. He didn't touch anything important. Right.
Well, sure. Right. But still creepy. And you probably weren't really all that interested in telling your mother about things like that again.
Well, after that, I just made sure I always got paid.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Oh, you want to touch? You got money? My mom will be after you if you don't.
Give me a check. My mom wants a check for this.
Oh, my God. My mom was my pimp.
Oh, no.
So anyway, that's my apology. Not expected.
That is certainly an apology owed.
Who's sorry now? Yeah, I'm owed an apology by that guy. Okay, what about you?
I have an apology expected, and you might remember yesterday there was a Zoom conference with members of Congress and Ukrainian President Zelensky. And the Republican senators Steve Daines of Montana and Marco Rubio of Florida shared photos on social media of Ukrainian President Zelensky in a secure location during that video conference call, even though members of Congress had been told not to tweet or post pictures about the call while it was in progress out of concern for Zelensky's safety, because Zelensky survived at least 3 assassination attempts over the last week. Multiple House Democrats blasted Daines and Rubio, calling their actions irresponsible. But a spokesperson for, Steve Daines said this was a well-reported call with over 250 people joining, and it was not a secure or classified briefing. The photo was shared before it was requested not to and well into the call, and it had no identifying information. We should be focusing on what's important here, and that's supporting Ukraine. The only reason why anyone wants to make this an issue is partisan clickbait, which is bullshit. Bullshit. If you want to support Ukraine, you might not want to divulge the whereabouts of their president. Who's trying to survive assassination attempts. So, once again, fuck the Republicans, and good luck to President Zelensky.
1,000 billion%. Yeah.
So I say I'm expecting an apology from Daines and Rubio, but I'm really not expecting an apology. I just think they owe us one. I don't think they're not going to have the wherewithal to actually apologize because they're assholes.
No, because to apologize means you did something wrong, and the Republicans have so much cleanup to do with all their Putin kissing over the last 5 years. They have to take down those posters of him where he's on that horse and he's looking so in control of the country and everything and shirtless.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Unbelievable.
No, awful. Did you hear about the Airbnb support for Ukrainians?
No.
You can rent an Airbnb in Ukraine. and not
go. And you don't have to go, and you just give them the money?
You give them the money through Airbnb.
That's a good thing. So they can get PayPal still or whatever?
I'm assuming so.
Maybe I should go check out some houses in Ukraine.
We're going to do that today.
That's nice.
Yeah. So...
and go to Kiev or
say
whatever.
Newish trend, but it's nice that technology is allowing us to help individual people and sort of do a people-to-people thing, and maybe rather than the fear of a dystopian future, maybe there'll be a nice thing that comes out of this in the next 100 years where people are helping people directly, right? I don't know.
Fingers crossed, that's true. I haven't heard the news today from Ukraine, but I hope it's not bad.
Nothing's it's all the same, but nothing's worse.
That's good.
But it's not getting any better. I really anticipated that by now things would have calmed down and that this was just all a big show, but now it can only end in one way. And it's all unfortunate. It hasn't even started yet.
Right, exactly. So, okay.
Nothing but cheer on this comedy podcast of Apologies Accepted, the podcast.
That's a lot of apologies that are owed to various people. So, yes.
But
Putin in particular deserves to apologize.
Yes. And,
so we'll wait for that.
Well, I mean, it's just like how he is not killed yet.
Probably nobody knows where he is or can get to him.
But I mean, the people around him.
Oh, I see. Well, maybe.
It's like, I had to sell my $7 billion yacht, Putin.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I don't understand the way that all works enough to speculate, but we can only hope.
And no one ever saw Juliet again.
Right.
Or Theo.
A lot of people there are some people who are actually going to Ukraine from the U.S. to support the Ukrainians. And I mean, it crossed my mind, but that would be no good to anyone if I did go. I just don't know what good people are doing who go unless they're trained military, like retired military or something.
Oh, right. And did you see that plane of Oath Keepers that went to the Ukraine to help? No, they didn't.
They didn't?
No, of course not. The insurrectionists that were like, they were here to...
They were going to go?
No, of course not. Jesus Christ. Those babies aren't going to go fight Putin.
That's what I figured, yeah.
Yeah, they're on Russia's side. Yeah. But, I'm going to say, corporations making the world a slightly better place. Thank you, Airbnb, for allowing Ukrainians to receive money. And that's wonderful. And so, the world is a mixed bag.
Good. It sure is.
Oh, I forgot the other great thing in the documentary. I'll make it real quick because we're going. So there was a woman in India, and she started 2 foundations, which are schools for children, 2 ashrams. And so some of the kids that are rescued from these work situations, these forced labor situations, come to her and go to school. And we're talking hundreds of kids in each ashram, right? It's not like 5.
Great.
And so some of the kids are so crippled from their job sewing Levi jeans.
Oh, no.
Where they sit cross-legged on the floor for 16 hours a day, their legs are deformed and they cannot walk properly. You can see how misshapen their anatomy is. But these kids are now interested in becoming engineers and doctors.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so...
I hope they can.
Out of all bad things, good things always spring. Universal law.
I hope so.
Yes, so there we go.
All right, on that note, we can end.
World's heroes, once again. Yes,
Yeah, we've saved the world. All right, thanks everyone for listening today, and good luck, and we hope it'll be a good week for you, and we'll see you next week.
Absolutely. And Ukraine, we're with you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Apologies Accepted, the podcast.
You can find links to the articles and the sources in the show notes.
To submit an apology or find out more, visit us at apologiesaccepted.net, where you can also find our merchandise.
We're on Twitter at Apologies Accepted.
And on Instagram at apologies.accepted.
You can support our important work at Patreon.com/Apologies Accepted.
And fuck Facebook.
Bye.
Bye.